Hello everyone, welcome to Tathastu and welcome to our daily current affairs MCQs, wherein we are going to solve a few questions based on current affairs, and there will be one question based on that will be from the previous year questions. Okay, so let's get started with this class which is being presented by me. My name is Khushboo. So let's get started, but before that a little bit of information, and the information is related to the courses which is available on Tathastu, and you can enroll in any of these courses. So MSLV, NCERT, these are the courses which are going on. Apart from that, you can join philosophy optional. Recently this actually has been started, and apart from that PSLV also. This has not been launched, but it is going to be launched very soon, and this is prelims oriented course basically. Okay, now in order to get details related to any of these courses, you can visit on our website, that is tathastuics.com, and apart from that you can call on these numbers also. Okay, or if you want to visit us, you can visit over here. This is our office address. Okay, so let's get started with the very first question of the day, and this question is related to DAIKRA. So the question is related to this particular platform, and the very first statement says that this actually represents a cooperative digital resource accessible to the public, offering unrestricted entry to crucial geospatial information relevant to agriculture that can withstand the effects of climate change. The second statement says, within India, NABARD will oversee and operate the DAIKRA platform while utilizing its critical geospatial data to shape policies with assistance from UNEP. So this was recently in news. In order to understand, first of all, let's check out that why it was in news, then we will discuss the answer. So it was in news because recently only NABARD has signed the MOU with UNDP to co-create data-driven innovations. So because of this thing only, this is actually news. Now what is this? Okay, so this is the data in climate resilient agriculture, which is very hot topic nowadays because of the climate change. So from the past few days, all of you must be observing this thing, that we are actually solving a few questions. We are actually encountering a lot many articles, editorials based on the current affairs, okay, which is really very important. This is actually very important. Climate change, global warming, and the impacts of the climate change, all these things becomes really very important, right? So this data in climate resilient agriculture, it is a kind of collaborative digital resource that offers the unrestricted access to the critical geospatial data sets specifically related to the climate resilient agriculture over here. Okay, now let's check out the answer of this. Answer is both the statements are correct. Okay, whenever you are reading the question, please do read it very carefully, because you hear many a times they actually ask you the correct, they can ask you the correct and even the incorrect one also. So it completely depends that whether your answer will be correct or not. The knowledge part is definitely the one factor, but the another thing which really plays very important role, and that is this, reading the question very carefully. Now this UNDP, this in conjunction with the partner organizations, they will be the one who will be responsible for curating this DAIKRA or DIKRA, which serves as a valuable resource for guiding the public investments in the agricultural sector, because nowadays, because of the climate change, there are a lot many areas which are actually becoming deserted, and apart from that there are a lot many areas wherein you cannot even grow anything because of the climate change. So in order to tap in that, or apart from that, in order to grow, in order to have this food security thing also, okay, in order to have this food security thing also, we need to actually have this thing, climate resilient agriculture. We need to have this thing, we need to apply this thing. So we need to get the best practices basically related to this thing. So that becomes really very important. And recently only, all of you must have seen the previous this year's question only, the food security that was there. So this becomes really very important topic. Now the next question is related to climate overshoot. All over again climate thing is here. The very first statement is that this is the time frame during which the Earth's temperature rises above the 1.5 degree Celsius threshold for subsequently decreasing. Now the second statement says Earth Overshoot Day, originally conceived by India, is commemorated annually on 25th of June. Now this is something which you need to remember, otherwise you won't be able to recall this thing. Okay. Here the second statement is actually wrong, the first statement is right. The second statement, it is that of the 29th of July. So that is why it is wrong. It is actually observed on 29th of July. So it led to irreversible impacts, IPCC report. If we actually touch this 1.5 degrees Celsius, that particular point, that particular temperature, if the temperature increases up to this particular level over on Earth, then the things will become completely irreversible. We won't be able to reverse anything. We won't be able to do that. That will actually become really very huge problem for all of the world. And apart from that, those low-lying lands, the low-lying countries, islands, any area, that will actually face a lot of problem. And we will, as of now, we are actually facing issues related to the clean water, food security. All these things will become inevitable. We won't be able to roll back any of these things. Now the climate overshoot, it actually refers to the period when global temperature surpasses the 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold, followed by a subsequent cooling phase. Now model predictions are here that approximately 90% of climate models anticipate a climate overshoot scenario characterized by years or even decades of elevated global temperatures before stabilizing at the 1.5 degrees Celsius, and wherein the impact will be like there will be increased coastal flooding and human displacement will happen because of this thing. If we are crossing this particular threshold, then heightened frequency and severity of forest fires will also be there. Recently only we had seen over there in the Maui, forest fire actually happened, and that was so dangerous. Apart from that, the flood recently, actually that occurred in over there in Libya, right? So that also, so coastal flooding will happen, the human displacement because of that. There will be a lot many areas, as I told you, that will get submerged into the water. Because of that, the people will displace. Heightened frequency and severity of the forest fires, I have already given you the example related to that, and the loss of biodiversity. If all these things are getting destroyed, then definitely this is something which is going to happen. Okay, fine. Now let's move on to the next question, question number 3. With reference to the genetically modified mustard, this is the previous question, 2018 paper. Okay, so with reference to the genetically modified mustard, this was in the I guess last DNA I had explained this thing. Genetically modified mustard developed in India, consider the following statements. The very first one is GM mustard has the genes of a soil bacterium that given the plant the property of pest resistance to a wide variety of pests. Second is GM mustard has the genes that allow the plant cross-pollination and hybridization. Third is GM mustard has been developed jointly by the IARI and Punjab Agricultural University. You have to find out that which of these options are correct over here. Choose your answer very carefully. So here, this thing, the third statement, okay, so here the third statement is wrong, because this has not been jointly developed by this thing, and when it comes to the soil bacterium, this is also wrong. The first statement is also wrong. So only two, that is the second statement is only correct. The first statement, genetically modified, when you are genetically modifying genetic genes, so you are actually, from the name itself you can remember, you can relate this thing very easy. You are actually modifying the genes of that thing. So you are genetically modifying mustard. So you are modifying the genes of mustard. It is as simple as that. Has been developed with the genes that make it actually resistant to the pests. Resistant to pests like the aphids and whiteflies, not from the soil bacterium. So that is the reason why the first statement was wrong. Now who all actually collaborated to do this thing? So Center for Genetic Manipulation of Crop Plants, this is under the Delhi University, in collaboration with National Dairy Development Board, that is the NDDB, and Indian Council of Agriculture Research, that is ICAR, all of them collaborated in order to do this thing. Okay, so recently only we did this GM crop decision that cuts the mustard. We had in the last editorial we had covered this thing. Now the next is Post Office Bill 2023. This was recently in news. With reference to this, consider the following statements. The very first statement says the government possesses the authority to inspect, unseal or hold postal parcels on grounds like safeguarding national security, maintaining public order, or addressing violations of the legislation. Now the second one is that the proposed legislation sets forth guidelines for utilizing geographic coordinates in digital addressing, which could potentially bring about a transformation in delivery techniques. Now the third statement says the government's exclusive right to transport letters remains unaltered, sustaining enduring uncertainties regarding the distinction between letters and documents. So here, how many of these statements are correct? Here third statement is incorrect, because it is when it is saying unaltered, that is wrong actually, because that has been stopped. The government's exclusive right to transport letters is eliminated, thereby resolving the enduring uncertainties regarding the distinction between letters and the documents. So that has been eliminated. That is not unaltered. Okay, so that has been altered. So that is why the third statement is wrong. Here you can see the post office changing the way postman knocks. Nowadays, very few people, I don't think so anyone actually send letters. Do you? To anyone? Last question of the day is consider the following statements about advocate on record, that is AOR. The very first statement says that the notion of advocates on record was introduced by Supreme Court exercising its authority under authority granted under Article 145 Clause 1 of the Indian Constitution. Now the second statement says an advocate on record is a designation bestowed upon a legal practitioner who is authorized to present a case or submit a legal document before the Supreme Court. Now the last one is to qualify for this title, the advocate must possess a minimum of 10 years of prior professional experience. How many of these are correct over here? You have to choose this thing. Now here it is saying 10 years, this is wrong, because that actually requires only of the the practitioner qualified or case submit pleadings in the Supreme Court over here. Right now, unlike the other Indian High Courts, this provision is unique to the Supreme Court over here, that is related to the AORs. Exclusive AORs is the privilege of filling documents and matters in the Supreme Court, as well as acting and appearing on behalf of the parties. Also this can be done, okay, on the behalf of the parties can be done. So as I told you, it is not that of the 10 years but of 4 years. Okay, so advocate must have a minimum of 4 years of prior experience in order to get on the advocate on record list. If you want to get on that, advocate must be enrolled with the State Bar Council, that is a must thing. Now after the completion of 1 year training under senior AOR, then only you can apply for this thing and you can get recorded. So under a senior advocate on record, the person, the advocate who is on the roll on that particular record, under him you are supposed to work, under him or her you are supposed to work for 1 year, you are supposed to get training, and then only you can apply for this. Now successful completion of an examination administered by the Supreme Court, you have to pass that particular exam also. And then the establishment of an office within 10-mile radius from the Supreme Court in Delhi, along with the commitment to employ a registered clerk within 1 month of the AOR registration. So that is also important when it comes to you want to become the AOR, the requirements for becoming AOR, which has been laid out in Order 4 of Rule 5. Order 4 Rule 5 of the Supreme Court Rules 2013. Okay, so fine. So this is it related to our daily current affairs MCQs. I hope you people enjoyed. A happy Teach to all of you. Today I was not able to record this DNA. I will be covering in tomorrow's DNA, so don't worry about that. See you in the next video. Jai Hind. Take care. Bye bye. Good night. Jai Hind.